We're mesmerized, as we always are, watching the incomparable work of David Coppett, who produced a video piece to the tune of It's Not Over Till It's Over. I'm not even sure what group sings that song, but Starship, thank you.
Jefferson Starship.
Right. No, it's just Starship.
It'll always be
You'll
Jefferson
be in trouble.
Starship.
You're going to get in legal trouble if you're not careful now.
That's all right. to you, it's Starship. To me, it'll always be.
Great piece, though, and that was just on the Jumbotron here at Candlestick. That gets the players ready as the Giants take the field. And the throng here is not big in numbers, but they are ready. They are intense, and the people that are here are great fans, and they greet the Giants with a standing ovation. And that is deserved. Coming back off a 6-1 road trip, a trip in which they left with many people thinking they were dead, and they are very much alive. And this is the moment when you look at these faces, the guys who've been through it before, and think they will lead the ones who haven't been there through it before in this last 10-game run. In many ways, Kirk, this is about all the Giants could have asked for after enduring that 8-game losing streak and leaving town and really needing to leave a week ago. This was all they could hope for, is to come back home with a chance. The road trip could have ended it. The Giants came through at 6-1, and they are very much alive. Now the lineup for San Diego tonight: Jim Riggleman, their first-year manager, has Jarvis Brown in center field leading off. Jeff Gardner plays second base and bats second. Billy Beane is in right field, batting third. Phil Plantier with 32 home runs is the left fielder and cleanup man. Arky Sinfrocco is at third base, batting fifth. Dave Staten, a rookie, is the first baseman, batting sixth. Ricky Gutierrez, the shortstop, bats seventh. Brad Osmus is the Padre catcher, batting eighth. And former #1 draft pick of the Padres, right-hander Scott Sanders is their pitcher, batting ninth.
Taking a look at the Giants' defense. In left field tonight, Barry Bonds. Over in center, Darren Lewis. Right field will be Willie McGee. At third base, Matt Williams. Royce Clayton will play shortstop. Robbie Thompson over at second. At first base tonight, Will Clark. Behind the plate, Kurt Manwaring. And on the mound, Scott Sanderson. And Ted, Scott Sanderson really has a bit of an advantage tonight against these San Diego Padres, because he only has faced Phil Plantier in the starting lineup tonight for the Padres. Only Phil Plantier has had any experience against him. And I say he has the advantage because a guy that can mix speeds and do the thing with the baseball, as many things with the baseball that Scott Sanderson can, a guy who's seen him for the first time is at a disadvantage.
What Sanderson will have to hope does not jump up and bite him tonight, of course, is that high home run total that he's allowed. And he has had a situation where 9 of the 10 home runs he's given up have been to left-handed batters, which means, of course, that Beane and Plantier, right in the middle, 3 and 4, are the guys that you look at and say, well, be a little bit careful with that.
Well, Plantier has definitely earned respect this year. He's got 32 home runs and 95 RBIs, and that's something you look at a couple of times when you're out on the mound and pitch around his type of power.
First pitch is a ball to Jarvis Brown on a 65-degree night here at Candlestick. Very nice night, not much wind at the start of the ball game. Jarvis needing a little stickum on that bat. A lot of unfamiliar faces on this Padre team, which has won 59 games and lost 94 and is coming in off a real bad series in Colorado. They just got whipped by the Rockies. And they're taking a look at lots of people like Jarvis Brown, who was a reserve player on the World Championship team in Minnesota 2 years ago. Played most of this year at the Padres AAA team in Las Vegas. Good speed. And that's what he'll try to do, but Williams is ready for it. And Jarvis Brown is the first out.
When you're playing third base, you're taught that as soon as you see that bat come off the position of the shoulder that a hitter would use in the hitting stance and go to a bunt stance, you crash in. And you saw Matt Williams do just that good reactionary play. So the bat go down, and Matt Williams, he bolts in, and it really isn't even close.
Now Jeff Gardner, left-handed hitting second baseman. He has been platooning with Tim Tuffle most of the year at second base. Gardner's the kind of hitter you look at and say he's a pest. That ball hit pretty well. McGee, though, will get to it. Hangs up in right center. And Sanderson quickly gets the first two Padres. Well, the best friend the Giants had tonight was Tommy Green, who shut out Atlanta on one hit through 8 innings. Mitch Williams had to come on and save it in the 9th when the Braves got a couple of extra hits. Green also drove in 2 runs, and the Phillies moved a step closer to wrapping up their division and gave the Giants a chance to move a step closer to Atlanta.
Billy Beane is actually one of the hottest hitters in the Padres lineup tonight. He's 15 for his last 42, and he's been knocking some runs in.
That ball is also hit well. Lewis going back, but he has room. And on the track, Lewis has it. And Sanderson retires the Padres in order in the top of the first. Now we get you the Giants batting order tonight, and that is brought to you, as always, by Motorola. A Motorola pager lets you stay in touch with the important people in your life. No surprise to the lineup. It's Lewis leading off, Thompson batting second. Clark, who came back with 2 hits last night at Houston, bats third. Williams, the cleanup man. Bonds had a 10-hit road trip, and his bat is back to life. Batting fifth, McGee is sixth. Then it's Clayton, Manwaring, and Sanderson.
Padres defense tonight, starting off in left field, Phil Plantier. Over in center would be Jarvis Brown. Billy Beane will play in right field. Marquison Fracco will play third base. Ricky Gutierrez at short. Jeff Gardner will play at second. Dave Staten at first base. Brad Ausmus will be catching tonight, and on the mound will be Scott Sanders. Scott Sanders has 2 types of fastball. He has a little bit of a curveball and a good changeup. Talked with Mark Davis, an ex-Giant who's now back with the Padres, a little bit about Scott Sanders, and he said that the best thing that he does with the ball is trying to ride it in on right-handers away from left-handers, and then go back away once he establishes that pitch, away from right-handers with a breaking ball. He likes to throw changeups to left-handers. He's learning how to pitch, Mark Davis said. So I said, what do you think the prospects of him pitching well tonight are? And Mark said, well, it's kind of a coin toss right now. So we hope the coin lands in favor of the Giants.
Well, he's a baby. He's only 24. He's a Louisianan from Thibodaux, Louisiana. #1 pick by the Padres in the 1990 draft. So this is just his 4th year in pro ball. And, of course, for the Giants, the challenge is, just as you mentioned with Sanderson and the Padres, the challenge is he's a guy they've never seen before. They know nothing about him. You know, they're hoping 1 or 2 guys might have seen him a little bit in the minor leagues. But that has been always a tough thing for the Giants this year, facing a guy they've not seen before.
Anytime a guy comes into a situation where you haven't seen him, a young pitcher, you want to get on him early. You want to shake his confidence as early in the game as you can, because the longer he goes, the stronger he's going to be mentally.
Bruce Fleming's crew on hand for the weekend set, with Mark Hirschbeck working the plate tonight. And Darren Lewis leading off for the Giants. Fracco in at third as Lewis takes a strike. 8th start for Scott Sanders in his big league career. The other advantage that the Giants starter has tonight is 2 extra letters on the end of his name. This could be tough.
Scott Sanders and Scott Sanderson.
Lewis lays off a ball and 2 strikes. Sanders last start was at Houston. 6 innings, 4 runs, 6 hits. Came in with a fastball there, and Lewis hits it right to third. Arky Sinfraco makes the play, and there's one down. The Giants just finishing a swing where they played 2 teams that they beat up on all year. The Giants went 11-2 against Cincinnati, 10-3 against Houston. They are 6-3 against the Padres. Three-game series these teams have played this year, and the Giants have taken 2 of the 3 each time.
Well, one of the biggest misconceptions that people have when you go into a series like this is they just say, well, hey, they're doing poorly, they're in last place, you're having a good year, you got to just steamroll over these guys. But it doesn't happen that way in baseball. That's really what makes it a great game, is that a guy gets hot on the mound or a guy has a good day at the plate, and he single-handedly can win a ball game.
Well, Atlanta went into San Diego a couple of weekends ago, Kruk, and they did win the series. I think they took either 2 of 3 or 3 of 4, but the Padres played them tough 3 of the 4 ball games. Atlanta really had to work to win the series. And the Giants are going to hope the same thing happens when Houston and then Colorado goes into Atlanta next week. Even though those clubs are not playing for anything, play hard.
And all these teams really have left in their season is to try and be a spoiler. So they're going at it. For them, this is a playoff game. The whole world is watching this game. It's a pennant race. They feel the electricity when they walk into the clubhouse tonight. A lot of press surrounded them, was asking them questions about the game, about
Would you leave those guys alone, for crying out loud?
Who's the press?
You. Leave them alone.
No, man. But because there was so much that surrounded this game, you know, I elevated their step a little bit, so they got pumped up.
Oh, Robbie Thompson starting to first base, and Mark Hirschbeck decided otherwise. Well, Sanders, a fastball looks pretty straight, Coop, but it does have some life on it.
You get a chance to be an umpire at home. Do you think it's a ball or do you think it's a strike? I believe Robbie Thompson has a pretty good beef right there. We've talked about throughout the year, Ted, a guy who has a straight fastball, I don't care if he throws it 98 miles an hour, it's hittable. What hitters will tell you is they much prefer a straight fastball with speed than a fastball with good movement.
Once they time it, right? But maybe it takes you an at-bat to time it.
Yeah, but you could run a 747 through the strike zone on a 3rd time. A big league hitter is going to be on it.
2 balls, no strikes to Clark, who had 2 hits last night off Doug Graybeck. And he'd like to send one right up there. Right, hit that young man right between the eyes.
That's a little harsh. And Bobby Bonds says, hey, he's got to throw that ball 57 feet. I only have to swing my bat 3 feet. So speed is not impressive. Movement is.
3-0. Missed. And Clark is on with a walk. Will finish the year 2nd on the Giants team in walks. That's something he's done well. It's the 57th time he's walked this year, which dwarfs in comparison to Bonds' total, but yet is good enough to be 2nd on the team. Second on the Giants in homers and runs batted in is Matt Williams. Taps one foul. Well, the pennant races in the other divisions are getting down to the short strokes. The Phillies knocked the magic number down by 1 tonight. And Toronto has just about wrapped up theirs. They have just defeated the Yankees by a score of 7-3. And Baltimore also lost tonight. And the White Sox playing Texas tonight. They're tied in the 9th inning. Chicago can wrap it up as early as Sunday. 1-1. This is the race here that many people think has the chance to go right down to the end.
Well, you and I both agree that it is one race that should go down to the end.
Well, the Giants are getting an introduction to a different strike zone tonight.
Mark Hirschbeck has liked that inside fastball all night long. He called 2 of them on Darren Lewis, 2 of them on Robbie Thompson, and now he's had it established again with Matt Williams. And that's all right as long as it's consistent and he does it with both sides. Hitters want to know what that strike zone is going to be. Just tell me what the rules are. That's one thing about baseball. The rules sort of change a little bit every night with the strike zone set by each umpire.
Good pitch. Boy, that was a nasty little breaking ball there that strikes out Williams to end the inning. So after 1, a candlestick with no score. This is a copyrighted telecast, which is a nice change. And it's authorized under television rights granted by the San Francisco Giants solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the picture descriptions and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the San Francisco Giants and SportsChannel is prohibited. All 4 games of this series will be seen right here on SportsChannel. Tomorrow and Sunday are day games, 1 o'clock. Monday a night game at 7:30. Phil Plantier has hit 32 home runs this season. He's only the 5th Padre to reach 30. 2 of them did it last year, of course, McGriff and Sheffield. Winfield. And the first guy was
Nate Colbert.
Nate Colbert.
You bet.
Pretty good hitter.
This guy's a real tight little swing. It almost looks like he's punching the ball with his bat. He has no wasted motion in his hitch. As he comes in the strike zone, he goes directly to the ball. And he's very strong.
Sanderson missing there, and it's 3-0. Plantier takes a strike. Plantier in Boston hit out of a more exaggerated, if you can believe it, a more exaggerated crouch. Merv Rettenman, the hitting coach here, has kind of picked him up a little bit. And Plantier also has recovered from an elbow problem that really hurt him last season. It'll be very hard. There was Merv Rettenman with the jacket on, former A's hitting coach. Right out to Darren Lewis. So 3 of the 4 Padre hitters hitting fly balls, but they've all stayed within the confines here. There's 1 away.
Well, that's Scott Sanderson's bread and butter. He will throw fly balls. What he tries to do is take the sting as to how hard you hit that ball, put the ball in the air, but with not a whole lot on it. And he can also pitch for a strikeout. The weakness that he has is when he's in the stretch, there's a man on first base. He does not throw well to the ground ball. He does not have much sink on his ball. It's usually pretty straight.
There's a strike to Arky Sanfrocco. Sanderson, in his last start at Cincinnati, had 7 strikeouts in 5 innings, and he said he had a real good fastball. And it looks like he may have brought some of that back with him here tonight.
He's been in a real good groove lately. When you throw in good mechanics, you take very little out of your arm, and that's when you get the most out of each pitch. The thing about Scott is he really has the ability to pitch with location. He can pitch. And he has to at this point. You can imagine when he was first coming up, he had tremendous stuff. He had a fastball that averaged about 94, and he had a huge curveball, little slider. He breezed through the lineup twice with the best of them. He's always been plagued with a bad back problem. A couple years ago, he went in and had surgery and immediately eliminated the pain that he'd had for about 6 years. He really, at one point in time, deliberated as to whether or not he wanted to play.
Great stop. Clayton makes the play. Sanfrocco waited well and hammered the breaking ball with Clayton with a great dive.
Exciting play by the young shortstop. You get a play like that in a game like this, it pumps everybody up. Except Arky Sanfrocco. He's not real excited.
Just a world of difference between the shortstop that started the year, where every ground ball was an adventure, to the guy now that plays the position like he's been there for many, many years. This is Dave Staten, rookie first baseman who just got to look at a big league breaking ball. 3 hits and 12 at-bats for Staten.
He's got a little sting in that bat of his. Everywhere he's gone, he's put some home runs up on the board everywhere, all through the minor leagues.
Well, he hit his first big league home run in San Diego last week, and it went into the second deck at Jack Murphy. Only 11 players have ever done that. And he hits one towering fly ball here, and he has just hit his second big league bomb. And that one was worth it. Dave Staten has put San Diego in front 1-0.
.6'5", about 225 pounds. A man just teed off on that bad boy. Hanging curveball. It left here in a hurry. I say this, Scott Sanderson, when he gives one up, he gives up a good one.
The 11th home run Sanderson has allowed in 41 innings with the Giants. The one thing that has saved him, the only thing with that number that saved him, is a good number of the home runs have been solos.
So the extension out there, breaking ball outside part of the plate. You don't want that big guy to get his arms out. That's where his power is.
When you saw Sanderson, the look of a pitcher who knew it.
Well, he's seen a few of them to know.
But he comes right back here, and he's got 2 strikes on Gutierrez. Had him reaching, and Clayton makes the play. So the side out, but rookie Dave Staten's second major league home run gives San Diego the lead. Hey, there might be a postseason game here a week from Monday. The Giants would love it. If there is a need for a 1-game playoff to determine the National League Western Division champion. See, and I did that. You got to stop me. Stop me when I do that. The National League West Division champion. It's not the Western Division. You know that.
You got a dime?
It's the West Division championship. It would be played here Monday night, October the 4th.
I guess I should ask you if you have a quarter.
I have 100. You need it. Bonds hammers one here right at Gardner. The Bonds out on 1 pitch starting the Giants half of the second inning.
But do you have a quarter though?
I don't deal in small change.
We'll call somebody who cares. Western. Giants need a run.
Willie McGee averaged an even 300. They can see, I think, watching Sanders pitching to just 5 or 6 batters, why he was a first-round pick. That fastball's got some giddy up on it. He is a Louisianan that had a pretty rapid rise through the San Diego farm system. Good system to be in right now if you're a young guy. Strike 2-1 to McGee.
The problem he's had is just getting movement on his fastball. And he's got good size for a starter, 6'4", 220. He's got a good free arm action. Just look at a guy who throws the way he does, and you can tell he's not going to have a whole lot of arm problems as his career develops. You just have to learn how to pitch a little bit and learn how to put a little movement on that fastball.
Oh, that's the pitch now. He has struck out both Williams and McGee. That's a pretty good little pitch.
That's a good hard slider. And when he starts showing that, here's the disadvantage we talked about. Anytime a hitter sees a pitcher for the first time, he doesn't know what to look for in a two-strike situation. And the guy gets to a two-strike situation to you, hey, you can be surprised. And when you get surprised, you're at a disadvantage.
Royce Clayton taking ball one. I go back, Kruk, to the first time the Padres were here this year on June 21st. And they started a guy who's going to pitch here in the series again named Doug Brocail, right-hander that Giants knew nothing about. Lifted out to right field. Billy Bean has it to end the inning. And Brocail that night, 6 very good innings. He lost a close game. Sanders has the lead here after 2 tonight. With 5 wins in their last 10 games, the Giants would reach 100 victories. Only once in the last 30 years has 100 wins not been enough to get you to postseason play. That was in 1980, the American League East, when the Yankees won it with 104. The Orioles finished second by winning 100. And that's what Dusty Baker said is the Giants' goal, to win 100 and see what happens. Of course, they know it's likely going to take more than 100. But they know it's going to take at least that. Brad Ausmus, the San Diego catcher.
You know, the biggest thing that starts to play in your mind right now is you've gone this whole way and you're dying to find out how it's all going to turn out. You just like you want to turn to the last page of the book and see who's going to win. It drives you nuts. It affects the way you sleep. It affects the way you eat. You get to the ballpark early. Everybody's got the same sort of apprehensive extra flow that's running about them, and it drives you crazy. You just want to know how it's going to end.
And then you multiply that feeling a couple of more times if you're in postseason play for the LCS, and then multiply it about 100 times more when you get to the World Series. And you find out why guys don't sleep well in the winter. Who've been through it. Breaking ball, and it's hit the left, and Ausmus is on with a leadoff single.
Both hits that Scott Sanderson has given up tonight have been off breaking balls. I believe that he's got a little hump in his breaking ball, and what I mean by that, an ideal curveball starts off on a flat plane parallel to the ground and then drops off, sort of like if you rolled a ball off of a kitchen table. This one has a little humpback to it, and when it has that humpback to it, it looks pretty from behind it when you're throwing it, but it never finishes. It sort of rolls into the strike zone, and it becomes very hittable. The ideal curveball starts like it right off the table and then drops down. The way that you eliminate that is to throw over you shorten your stride off of your left foot when you plant. You shorten it up a little bit. It causes you to get up on top.
There's a strike to Sanders, who has had 1 hit in 14 at-bats. Who had the best curveball you've ever seen?
3 really stand out in my mind. Donnie Robinson was one of them when he first came up.
Really?
He was a dandy. Bert Blyleven was incredible, and Nolan Ryan had just a DC, we call it. It was a disappearing curveball. It would start right out at your left shoulder and then explode across the plate. Just leave you standing there.
It's a name absent from there. Now, personally, to me, in my time, Blyleven's the best I've seen. But I was expecting you, because I haven't seen this guy, who's good. I was expecting you to say good.
He had a curveball very similar to that of Nolan Ryan. J.R. Richards, another name out of the past that had a tremendous curveball.
Good bunt by Sanders. And that moves Ausmus to second base.
When Scott Sanderson came up in the Montreal Expos organization, they had just a ton of right-handers and all had very similar stuff. And all of those guys had great breaking balls. Bill Gullickson, Hal Dews, Charlie Lee.
Who was that one?
Charlie Lee.
Yeah, but who was the one before that?
Hal Dews. He probably had some of the best stuff of any of them. He blew out early, but
I was going to say, he didn't ever pitch in the big leagues, did he?
Oh yeah,
Hal Dukes.
Yeah, and had good stuff too. Great breaking ball. Brent Smith was another one of those guys that came out of there. And Bill Gullickson, he struck out 18 Cubs one night, and I had to sit there and watch my teammates go down one after another, and it was one of those curveballs. It was like once in a lifetime curveball.
A little helpless feeling, huh?
Well, you just leave guys standing there. They were diving out of the way. They thought the ball was going to hit them. It just embarrassing.
Now here's where Sanderson now going to do a little pitching. Jarvis Brown. Not a guy that you want to beat you with the bat. He's a speedster and a defensive player more than a hitter right now. And a good breaking ball there. 0-2.
Scott Sanderson is pitching for the strikeout now. He can come back in with a fastball. Depends on how much confidence he has with his breaking ball. If he thinks that's his best pitch, he'll try and punch him out with that.
And he did. Boy, that was a good job. And I'm sure he had Brown looking exactly what you're thinking about, and he came back with a good lively fastball away.
You know, credit that to Kurt Manwaring. Manwaring is really getting good at identifying guys' stuff. You get a catcher up there who really, the pitcher's the last guy to know what kind of stuff you have, because you don't see movement on the fastball. The catcher does. A lot of times catchers, you'll see them shake their heads to a pitcher who has shaken him off.
Breaking ball to Gardner. But don't hitters tell you what kind of stuff you have or don't have?
Well, yeah.
I mean, aren't they the ones who really tell you?
Well, sure they do. But a guy who is a good catcher will identify that you don't have a good fastball, so he'll set it up off the plate in and let you know that, and then come back away when you have to come across the plate with it. Rather than just going to location based on what you had done the previous two starts. Hey, every guy who goes out there, your stuff's different every night.
Well, Sanderson's doing a veteran's job right here. Man at second with one out. He has done some pitching. He's one strike away from getting out of the inning. Osmus the runner. Ball in on a good spot there. Got it right into Gardner's hands.
Scott Sanderson has to be able to get that pitch in. He's as good as anybody as burying that ball in. He has to do that to set his breaking balls up. Here's an 0-2 count. He comes right back in, a ball right belt high that's off the plate in. Very difficult for a left-handed hitter, or any hitter for that matter, to get the bat head out and on that ball. You saw that was a call that Kurt Manwaring put on, and you saw him point to his head. And what he meant by that was he wanted Scott Sanderson, hey, use your head on this pitch. He called a backdoor breaking ball. He does not want him to leave that pitch out over the plate so it can get hit. That pitch right there sets up a fastball to come back in with. He can come back in with it, or he can throw a curveball in the dirt.
And the breaking ball is tapped. Clayton charging it. And safe. Gardner beat it out, and the inning stays alive.
Good play by Clark digging that ball out. Will gambled a little bit right there. He wanted to try and get that out to end the inning. He knew that the heads-up play would have been to come off the bag and catch this ball in the short hop, but he gambled, and he made a nice play picking it up. And his foot came off the bag a little bit to try and keep that ball from going by him.
Let's see, is it the foot or the runner? Looked like Gardner might have tied the play as well. Well, regardless, there are runners now at first and third as Gardner is credited with a hit. And Billy Bean, who had good run production for San Diego, is the batter, and he takes ball one. Bean has joined the club midway through the year. And he's had 41 hits for San Diego and driven in 31 runs. That's a very good ratio. Now it's a ball and a strike. Bean was originally a Tiger draftee out of Loyola Marymount. And then had a little stint with the Dodgers as well. He's not related at all to the Billy Bean who played for and is now in the management of the Oakland A's.
What about Judge Roy?
Well, you know, that's probably not a bad idea. We ought to check that lineage. Let's get Glenn Kuiper on that one.
Glenn, you want to look up and see if Billy Bean's related to Judge Roy Bean?
Strike two.
Pitching very carefully. This is a playoff type game in that Dusty Baker will not hesitate to get guys up and pitchers into games to fit different situations. He really doesn't care if the starting pitcher sticks around for 5 innings to qualify for a win. And he's playing this thing like there's no tomorrow, and that's the way he should manage the game.
1 ball, 2 strikes with 2 outs. Robbie Thompson has it. So Sanderson does the job. A very good job of pitching by the veteran right-hander. Keeps it 1-0 San Diego. Last half of the 3rd inning now, and Manwaring will lead off. Sanderson and Lewis to follow. Kurt's bat came to life a little bit on the road trip, and it was a very welcome sign as he wants to make sure that he caps what has been a marvelous year for him in so many ways by keeping that average reasonably close to where it's been all year.
I think the thing that he did even better than his hitting was the way that he called pitches during this last road trip. I was really impressed with the way that, and there you see the 1993 Willie Mack Award winner Kurt Manwaring. And that's an award that is voted upon by his teammates.
Well, Sanders, he's got some life there. 4 strikeouts to the 8 batters that he has faced. Now we'll face Sanderson. Well, talk about this fastball first.
Just good old country hardball
on 0-2.
I got it, you take it. And threw it right by Manwaring.
Talk about the Willie Mack Award for a minute. What exactly the teammates vote on that? Is that correct?
Yes, they do. That is something that is taken a vote by the team. It's something that exemplifies attitude, spirit, leadership, and for the recipient, it's one of the biggest thrills you ever have to be acknowledged by your teammates for the efforts that you've put forth in the year, both on and off the field. And he has been that kind of player this year, and obviously he has the respect of his teammates.
1-2 now to Sanderson. Tiny Felder won the award last year. Robbie Thompson was the 91 winner. What year you won it, didn't you? What year did you win it?
1985 and 1986.
Back to back.
Double Cathud.
Man. Couldn't three-peat, huh?
No. It's my most cherished award.
Ooh. I tell you what, that is going to make it a tough night if that pitch is a strike. There are not many guys that can hit that. Well, he misses his target. That's the other thing, Kruk, and that still gets a strikeout.
He sets up away for the breaking ball, and he throws it. It breaks in. And Mark Hirschbeck, the plate umpire, says, ooh, yeah, that was there. So now the Giants have seen him once. Let's see what happens the second time through the lineup.
You just don't see that call very often. If you miss your target that badly, then you get a called strikeout.
Hirschbeck is usually a pretty good plate umpire.
The Braves might disagree. Lewis out trying to bunt his way on, and the Giants go quietly in the third inning. 3 complete, and rookie Scott Sanders has limited the Giants to nothing.
Those clinics are fun. They're a great idea. I always thought that as a player, you go to those things, and if you learn one thing, you become a better baseball player.
I should have done that when I was young.
Were you a pretty good baseball player?
The Choo-Choo Coleman clinics.
You were a glove man, weren't you?
I was a glove man. Those Choo-Choo Coleman clinics, that was what came through my neighborhood. Remember Choo-Choo?
Sure.
Phil Plantier will lead off the top half of the 4th inning. I guess it's appropriate. I just opened up a letter here between innings inviting me to the Red Sox fantasy camp. It says, "Dear Red Sox fan." Somebody screwed up here. Must be a different Robinson. Never was, never will be a Red Sox fan. I don't know that Plantier will be anymore either. Lou Gorman's going to have a rough couple of years, though. Nice man, runs the Red Sox, but for the next about 5 or 10 years, he's going to sit back and watch Jeff Bagwell and Phil Plantier terrorize the National League in all likelihood. He didn't get anything really in return for either guy. Good pitch. Sanderson changing speeds on his breaking ball, and it's 1-2.
No, you saw the graphic there. He's given up 4 lifetime hits and 15 at bats to Phil Plantier, but 3 of the hits have been home runs.
Well, so you've got a fly ball hitter in Plantier and a guy that does give up some home runs in Sanderson. This is probably the one hitter tonight that you really worry about from Sanderson's viewpoint, although Dave Staten is the guy that went deep.
It's a good night to hit home runs, too. There's not any wind blowing right now, and when the wind doesn't blow in Candlestick, it becomes a real favorable ballpark to hitters. I always like that.
Why don't we get some wind going?
Well, I mean, flapping my arms as fast as I can.
2-2. Good breaking ball. Oh, Plantier doesn't like it either. Well, I can't say I blame the hitters tonight. This is it's a pitcher's night so far.
Yeah, it is. This is the kind of strike zone you live for. Yeah.
That'll get you a big hoo-ah, won't it?
Look at this will come over the other side plate. Yeah, I don't think so. Good punch out though. Eh? Mark Hirschbeck's got good style points on that ring up.
That is the kind of night that gets those veteran right-handers up here loosening up. I think we'll go down there and give you 2 or 3 innings tonight.
I think I could make it work one more time.
Arky Sinfrocco takes a strike. Padres have abandoned the Derek Bell to third base experiment. They had tried that a few weeks back. Sinfrocco was going to first base, but Bell reinvented third base, and he invented it kind of the way that they invented Herman Munster. It just didn't work. Scrapped the experiment. Bell was supposed to play right field tonight. He was scratched about an hour before the game. And old Arky's back at third base. Sinfrocco hurt the Giants when these teams last met in San Diego. The bizarre game that the Padres won in 12 innings. Giants had opened up a big lead in that game, and Sinfrocco got the Padres going. They got their comeback going with a 3-run homer. Yeah. 2-2.
Good pitch, just missed. You don't want to let Sinfrocco extend his arms. Sanderson going with fastballs inside. And those pitches set up breaking balls away.
Well, the road trip successful in just about every way. And now the Giants want to make sure they come back home and reestablish this as their place. Good pitch. Really, to me, Kirk Sanderson is showing every bit the fastball that he had in Cincinnati last Sunday.
These guys are going up there and they're looking for breaking balls. And here's a two-strike situation where he just throws it right by Sanfranco. The first strike that he got was a breaking ball. He then came back with a fastball right down the middle. Sanfranco was frozen on it, so that tells me that he's looking for a breaking ball. Scott Sanderson picked up on it too, but he did it the right way. He went with a fastball in twice, which would set up a breaking ball. He had Sanfranco looking for it and then shot a fastball right by him outside.
87 miles an hour, Jim Lynch tells us, on the last fastball by Sanderson. He's got to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's 7 miles an hour more than you need. You only need 80 miles an hour, and that's the dividing line where a guy cannot sit on a breaking ball and react to a fastball. If you throw 80 miles an hour, even if he sits on a fastball, or when he's sitting on a curveball, he just can't catch up to the fastball. When they can look breaking ball and hit your fastball, it's time to start looking for other work.
1-1 here. And I'm curious to see if Staton sees any curveballs here. Staton hit one 1.5 miles in the second inning for his second major league home run.
I think if he throws him a curveball, it will be an off-speed curveball.
He had all that weight way on his back leg. Oh, the hitters have got to be going crazy right now. Look at this.
Well, Staton's doing the right thing. He's not arguing with him, but here's that slow off-speed breaking ball I was talking about. You can see it breaks off the plate away.
Wow.
But I'll say this, Hirschbeck's been consistent. He's calling it both ways.
In the area code, it's a strike. What happens, and I'm sure you went through this, is now your pitchers, you can start to get a little greedy. You know, Wing went up there by the guy's ear flap and start staring. What do you mean that wasn't a strike?
You know, a lot of guys do that, though. The first 5 innings, they'll have a wide strike zone, and they'll breeze through the game. And about the 5th inning, it tightens up. It's sort of their way to keep the game moving. Frank Polio is excellent doing that.
2-2. That was the pitch. You see, I mean, so I'm sure Scott's saying, "What do you mean that was where did that miss?"
Well, now the last time he was at, the last hit he had was a home run and a curveball. It's a 3-2 count. What do you throw him here?
Fastball inside.
Curveball
outside. You're right. That's why you pitched. Sanderson strikes out the side in the San Diego half of the fourth. The best pitch. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's just an old story. Guys used to say, hey, he's pitching to his baseball card. It simply meant that he was a little intimidated by the guy's reputation.
That's why I'm thinking that the best break Sanders got in this game was that 3-2 pitch in the first inning that Thompson got called out on. Like to have seen him had pitched with Clark in the first inning with a man on. Finally comes in with a strike. But Thompson was running up in the first inning, and they didn't have to worry about that. One out, 3-1 pitch. And Clark's on for the second time. The only Giant to reach base tonight, 2 walks. And Matt Williams struck out on a nasty slider in the first inning. He'll get his second look at Sanders. As always, our crew here at Candlestick, led by our tandem with Jeff Kuiper and Jim Lynch. Able help from David Copper. I don't know if there's any awards these guys win, but we'll give them one at the end of the year, crew. Don't chime in so quickly.
Well, I was watching Dusty talk to Robbie about hitting. Robbie, of course, was Dusty's patient last year. How about using his hands? But you're right, Ted. It really becomes obvious as you go around the country just as to how good our guys are. And you really appreciate them for what they do. I've often told Jim Lynch, you don't even need the announcers. With the type of stories you tell,
Don't
with the way you put pictures
that.
up there.
Shh. Never say that.
What's true? These guys can deal. Dusty reminding Matt Williams, get that pitch. Look for that pitch in your zone. Focus now. You're ahead in the count 2-0. You can be selective. Don't go up there fishing for a curveball in the dirt. Get that fastball on the inside part of the plate. If it's not there, take it. If it's there, let the fur fly, baby.
Oh, but that's again the pitch that he struck Williams out on. Well, that really gets a pitcher off a hook. 2-0, he doesn't throw a strike.
That's exactly what Dusty was reminding him not to do.
Better eye there, and it's 3-1.
I'll say this for Scott Sanders. He made a great 2-0 pitch.
Yep.
I mean, the book on Matt Williams is to try and get ahead in the count and then throw him bad breaking balls. It's always been that way, and it will always be that way because of the label that you get in this game. You just don't shake him. 2-0, even a nice pitch to him.
3-1. And he came in with a fastball. Williams fouled it back, but that's that fastball that Mark Davis was talking about. Ran it in on his hands.
Mark said it's a bit of a coin toss yet with him because it's still a confidence thing in that he's so young. If he starts out early and gets a little confidence brewing, he's going to be good for the rest of the night. But if he gets rocked early, he goes out early.
3-2. Clark, the runner with a bad knee at first base, does not go. And Williams hits a double play ball. And he beats the relay out as Sinfrocco did not make a good play at all. The throw to Gardner was off target, and they lost a chance to turn 2.
Great play by Will Clark getting down there to put some heat on Jeff Gardner.
Well, this should have been a double play.
I think it was a combination of two things: the throw from Sinfrocco and the pressure that Clark put on second baseman Jeff Gardner that prevented him from getting that ball over there. And that could be a big break for the Giants because it brings Barry Bonds up there with runner on first. Dave Staten will have to hold Matt Williams on base. It'll open up the right side of the infield. And Barry Bonds has seen Scott Sanders once, and that might be all he needs.
Fastball strike of the knees. Bonds saw one pitch in the second inning and grounded the second base. You can probably count on one hand the times this year the Giants have not started a runner from first base on a 3-2 pitch with one out. Obviously, Clark, in his condition, is in no condition to be running, and that's why the Giants didn't move him, and it almost cost him the double play. Bonds lays off 2-1.
Sanders is nibbling a little bit. I don't blame him. I would too. I would not give in to Barry Bonds in this situation.
San Diego with a second inning home run by Dave Staten. Rookie first baseman has the lead. We're in the bottom of the fourth inning with 2 outs. And it's 3-1 to Bonds. Now comes the question that we talked a little about in Houston about Bonds' abilities here. If it's a close pitch, does he swing at it to try and drive a run in, or does he take a walk? He swung at it, hits it a long way, right center, and gone. His first home run in 22 days, and it puts the Giants in front. The crowd wants Bonds. He's not going. Now he will.
He had to go out there or Willie McGee wouldn't have gotten the box.
Well, a failure for the Padres to turn a double play cost them, and Bonds did what he has to do in September. He was up there to hit. 41 homers, 109 runs batted in.
And Scott Sanders kept pouring fastball after fastball after fastball in. He gave in on a 3-1 count. Boom.
McGee to left field, and that'll be in for a hit. Lantier keeps it in front. Well, that swing has to take a lot burden off Bonds' mind and perhaps place a little bit more on the folks in Atlanta, which is all the Giants can do right now. Keep winning their games, just as Atlanta did to them for 4.5 months. Both teams will play day games tomorrow. Atlanta's game is a national television game, and they'll be going off just about the same time.
You learn a lot about a young pitcher in situations like this. You saw the emotion of a 2-run home run that gave the Giants a lead. The fans got right into this game. He came back with a single of next man up to McGee. It's a pressure situation. We'll find out about him, see how he handles it.
Clayton skies one, and Dean has it to end the inning. But the Giants get the long-awaited big swing from Barry Bonds to take the lead. Barry Bonds, the last couple of days, he's begun to talk about his MVP chances a bit more openly. Obviously, it's, I mean, he's been told by people for most of the season he's the lock MVP. That's been put in some question, but swings like this will remove the question in the last 10 days.
Well, I agree with you. This is the time of year, and he keeps putting up swings like that. He can carry his team to the promised land. And then there would be no decision.
Gutierrez fouls one back. I asked him last night on the radio pregame. I said, you know, have you carried the team? And do you think you can carry the team the last 10 days? And he said, yeah, I can do it. But he really said, you know, you don't win MVP awards without a supporting cast.
Well, I don't know about that statement.
Gutierrez hitting into the corner. McGee makes a catch. Nice play by McGee in foul territory for out number 1.
I mean, Andre Dawson had a year in Chicago where they came in 5th or 6th place, and he won the MVP, 40+ home runs.
Right, but I think the idea in Bonds' mind, and I would agree wholeheartedly, that's a joke. A player on a 5th or 6th place team should never be the MVP. The award is not Player of the Year. The award is Most Valuable Player. If you have a Player of the Year award, yeah, Andre Dawson wins it. But the award is Most Valuable Player. And I saw it in the American League 2 years ago when Cal Ripken won the award. The Orioles finished in 6th place. And I just don't see that. There is a base hit. So Osmus gets his second hit tonight off Sanderson. He's on with one out here in the 5th inning.
Well, we had this conversation before, and I agree with you 100%. I think a guy that brings his team to the finish line, I mean, regardless if he has 85 RBIs or 185 RBIs, it's the guy that got you there is the guy that should be the MVP.
It's not just that's, I guess I agree with you. It's not a statistical award. You don't just line up the stat line and say, okay, who had the best year? To me, and I don't vote, never have voted for the award, so that's just my feeling. And Scott Sanders, the batter. Now, there were a lot of people in the American League last year that were critical of Eckersley winning the MVP award, and I wholeheartedly agreed with it, because there was no question in my mind he was the most valuable player in the league. Regardless of what position he played, he was the man. But anyway.
Well, they're not very often wrong. They are usually right on time. Occasionally you'll have a guy who does.
Clark will have to go to first base here. 2 down.
You have a guy who does put up good numbers for a club that finishes in 5th or 6th. And it's just not the same hitting for a team that's going to finish 6th and is out of it by the 1st of August.
That's what Bonds meant. Hitting solo homers and racking up all those gaudy numbers. If you don't have people helping, you don't mean much. And that, I think, was the point he was making.
Well, that point I agree to. What he's done this year for the Giant organization is remarkable, and not to be rewarded with the most valuable player. See, that's what he has done for this club. I think is the criterion for the MVP, and I think that he qualifies in many, many ways.
2 down now, and Jarvis Brown, the batter, with Osmus at second base. Sanderson got Brown on strikes in the 3rd inning with Osmus at second and 1 out. Brown has hit the ball a little bit better in his stint with the Padres this year than his past major league time would indicate. And now he'll be behind in the count 0-2. What Bonds is also feeling is that the same criterion by which he lost the MVP in '91 should win it for him this year. He finished second to Terry Pendleton in '91. Many people felt Bonds had the better year, but Pendleton took a team, had a great year for a team that had been losing, and they won. And Bonds thusly, and he has a good argument, feels the same should apply to him this year. Missed it, it's 1-2. Sanderson trying to get through the 5th inning. Keep the Giants in front after Bonds' 2-run homer. Left field, and it's going to hang up. Bonds gets there, and the inning's over. A hit, a man left. We go to the bottom of the 5th, 2-1 Giants. We got greeted tonight. We were greeted by a new sign up in right field. Yeah, right field foul pole, end of the new scoreboard at Candlestick from Charles Schwab, who was a limited partner in the Giants. Pretty clever sign.
Yeah, I got a little target up there, something to shoot for. And that sign is very hittable.
Yeah, what do you get if you hit it?
You get some stocks and bonds.
I was going to say,
some mutual funds.
He doesn't need that. Free advice.
Yeah, you get some free advice.
Kurt Manwaring will lead off the Giants half of the 5th inning, and he goes to right field for a base hit. That's a stroke that got Manwaring to a .300 average for much of the middle part of the year.
Boy, is this sweet. Go up there and just come right in the zone. Your hands are back, even though he's a little bit out front. Lays that bat head right on the ball and punches it to right field.
Now we'll get a look at Scott Sanderson's bunting. Sanderson has had 13 Giants at-bats, and he has struck out in 10 of them. Not a bad. Oh, Staten. Well, they yelled at second base, and Staten didn't go there. You could hear, I believe that would have been Osmus yelling 2-2-2. Staten, though, goes to first, so Sanderson does the job, moving Manwaring into scoring position.
One of the things you have to do as a fielder is when a play is called, you have to come down and you have to anticipate the lead bag. If Staten comes down and he turns and looks, that little hesitation there cost him a chance to go to second base.
So with one down, the Giants get 2 cracks to bring in another run. Lewis is first. Aaron has grounded to third and been trying to bunt his way on.
Good hard slider. I mean, Sanders is not going away. He has not crumbled. He had that rough spot with the 2-run homer, and then he came right back.
Well, that tells you what the Giants have at stake tonight. Lewis checks and goes, says Bruce Fremming. And it's 1-2. Did not look from up here like a swing. Let's take this look at it.
I thought he went around.
Yeah, that is a swing.
How can you argue with that face?
He's just had a very jovial year here in Candlestick, hasn't he?
Bruce?
Yeah.
Fremming.
Excuse me, and Sanders will get Lewis for out number 2.
Bruce Fremming, the first base umpire, is a native of Wisconsin, a cheesehead. One of his biggest fans is Glenn Kuiper, who is along with us tonight in the booth. And I really enjoy to watch Bruce work. He is one of the old school umpires who really takes charge of the game. When he's the plate umpire, that's his game, and boy, he's gruff and talks like this, and I mean, he's fun to watch.
Robbie Thompson. And there's a fastball. There's right in there for a strike. I thought you could tell me you really enjoyed watching Glenn work.
That too.
Coming through the stands tonight, some young fans stopped and asked me to autograph something, which was startling enough on its own. And then I stopped and looked at the item they wanted me to sign, and Glenn Kuiper had already signed it. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't ruin something that valuable with my signature. And I just had to excuse myself and walk on. 1 ball, 1 strike to Thompson. Hit in the air to center. Brown playing very deep, but races in and makes the catch. So this time it is Sanders that pitches out of trouble, and it stays 2-1 Giants. We want to pass along our best wishes to an old friend, friend of many of the Giants, who at the time when things should be going great is actually enduring some very difficult personal times. Good friend Steve Bedrosian, whose son Cody is not doing well right now, and we certainly want to send all of our best wishes on to Steve and Tammy Bedrosian and their families. Line drive hit by Gardner, and McGee has it. 1 down.
Scott Sanderson doing what he does best, is getting that fly ball up in the air. Gets him out front a little bit. They just can't get all of it. And it's a frustrating at bat because hitters will go back to the dugout and they'll scream at him. And they have this real gnawing feeling that they got themselves out. It drives them nuts. It's great.
The pitchers are brutal, man. Billy Beane goes down at 1. Buddy Black, we also want to send along our best wishes for Buddy. He's going to have surgery tomorrow morning on his left elbow. Tendon repair will be done in Palo Alto tomorrow morning. Oh, I didn't realize Buddy was here prepping for that surgery. Certainly hope that Buddy is ready to go in the spring, although I really don't know the severity of the operation, if he'll be able to go in the spring.
I would think that spring is rather optimistic.
Okay. 1 and 2. Having undergone surgery yourself, you wouldn't be able to know that. Yours was shoulder.
Mine was shoulder, but the type of surgery that he's going to have is real extensive, and they're going to go in and do a whole rebuild. And I don't believe that
it's a reconstructive thing, right?
We'll see him anywhere near the field next year at all.
Ooh, just foul. It's sharply wide of first. Well, the good thing about Buddy Black is he's a guy who's kept himself in pretty good shape. And if the operation is successful, he has every opportunity to be able to come back and keep his career going. As long as he gets away from Mark Latana. He's spent too much time talking to Mark, and that might Sanderson really has been out in front here. One ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. In the 6th inning, the Giants lead the Padres 2-1.
Scott Sanderson quit trying to throw his curveball hard. He's taken something off. He knew he had a little hump in it and was getting hit, so he started throwing the old gravity curveball at him. And he's got this guy, all the Padre hitters for that matter, on their front foot way out and off balance.
Did come back with a fastball, but it's high. 2-2.
That's really where he's got to be with that fastball. And that sets up his curveball. Because as it leaves his hands, it looks like the same pitch. Comes out on the same plane.
Missed again inside. So the count is full. Sanderson has not walked a batter tonight. He has 4 strikeouts. One thing Sanderson has done well in his Giants starts. He has not walked very many people. 3-2. And Beane fouls another one away. This is where you would think that would the hitter get against Sanderson? Does the hitter get more of an advantage in a 10-pitch at bat?
Not necessarily, because he can mix his locations. And you saw he went with 2 fastballs inside to a 2-ball to a 3-ball count. Then he went right outside again with a fastball. And a guy that can mix location and speed as well as Sanderson in effect has 10 pitches, and he uses all those things to his advantage.
Boy, he got that in a great spot. Manwaring hoping, but that will be backing out of play.
See, this is exactly what we're talking about. For the 2nd and 3rd balls, he went inside high. He let him go out there and he let Beane sniff those balls right under his nose. Then he went outside with the fastball. Then he came right back in and he buried it right in his hands. That's a hard pitch to make, especially when you start to get a little tired. It really is a pitch you have to concentrate on, because if you leave it out in the middle of the plate or the inside part of the plate, well, you got to rub up another one to hit out of the ballpark.
Another one fouled away. Well, you have a count on this, Glenn? You have a count on this at bat? It's about 10 or 11, I got to believe. One out, nobody on, and Billy Beane waging battle here with Scott Sanderson.
4 fastballs in a row.
What's the call here?
Manwaring says fastball away.
That was down, and he tipped it into his glove for a strikeout. 5th strikeout for Sanderson. Now this coming on the heels of Cincinnati. I think this one, even so far, more impressive. This might be the best game he's pitched as a Giant. Well, he did have the 6 shutout innings here on Labor Day against Pittsburgh.
I think Scott's been a great acquisition for the Giants. He really has given them a chance to win in all but 2 of his games. Here's the guy he wants to stay away from, a guy who's got good history against him, a guy who's taken him deep 3 times.
And the best way to pitch to him with nobody on.
Absolutely.
Plantier takes the breaking ball. He has flied to center and been called out on strikes. Batting average is just .240. Hit to right field, hooking away from McGee, and that's a fair ball in play. Plantier to second, and he'll be in. Although McGee made that much closer than it should have been with an outstanding throw. And Plantier has a 2-out double.
That was really a nice reaction by McGee. Good hitting by Plantier. He gets a hanging breaking ball, and he was lucky that for the Giants that it stayed in the ballpark. But watch McGee as he plays his carom. He takes it now. He takes the momentum right into his throw and throws a bullet into second base. And if Plantier had not been hustling on the play all the way, he'd have been hung out.
San Diego's 5th hit. Tying run at second base, 2 outs, and Arky Sinfraco the batter, while Dave Burba loosens up and probably is ready by now if needed.
I like the camera angle. We haven't seen that one yet.
Now Sinfraco tired of waiting, and he backs out.
That's deliberate. Sanderson wants him to go up there and stand there for a while. He's a young hitter. He wants to drive that run in. Make him wait.
Hit well right field. McGee going back to the wall, and it is gone. A home run to right field by Sinfraco, and that puts San Diego back in front. Arky Sinfraco with yet another big hit against the Giants. A 2-out, 2-run homer the opposite way. Very stunning development that puts San Diego back in front and might quickly end Scott Sanderson's night. Number 11 for Sinfraco. And not what you expected to see from him, going to right field. And Dusty Baker out to make a change. 2 pitches, and Scott Sanderson's night is over. The Giants are behind. The Rolaids pitcher stats, which not surprisingly are brought to you by Rolaids. Rolaids spells relief. Randy Myers, who has set a National League record, save record this year. Now, obviously his next save would make him the first National League pitcher to ever get 50 in a year. Brian Harvey's having an absolutely remarkable year, though. The Florida Marlins have only won 62 ball games. Harvey has saved 45 of them. It is remarkable. Jeff Montgomery continuing to lead in the American League. So Scott Sanderson, 2 outs here in the 6th inning, had the lead, but Plantier doubled it, and Sinfraco takes this ball out the other way.
Absolutely a perfect swing by Sinfraco. He comes right down in that hitting zone and gives himself to hit a ball away. And you watch the reaction from Scott Sanderson. A lot of frustration in that pitch. But he did not make a bad pitch. It was just excellent hitting by Sinfraco.
Very surprising hitting. You see, Sinfraco's a good hitter, but you don't expect to see him go to right field and leave the yard. Dave Burba on to pitch, facing Staton, who homered in the 2nd, called out on strikes in the 4th.
Well, good things happen when you have good swings, and that's why hitters always work so very hard on their mechanics and their techniques. They feel if they come into that hitting zone and they're in control of their bat head when it meets the ball, good things will happen. And guys will always tell you they don't go up there trying to hit home runs. They go up there trying to take good swings and making hard contact and just let the fur fly where it goes. It's Mark McGwire's theory. Just want to go up there and hit the ball hard.
And Burba just goes out there and throws the ball hard and blows it right by Staton to end the inning. Well, the Giants will have the middle of the order now, trying to get the lead back. Scott Sanders now will face Clark, Williams, and Bonds in the bottom of the 6th, and the Giants are down a run. San Diego has brought Craig Shipley into play third base. Arky Sinfrocco has moved to first, and Staton is out of the ballgame. Clark hits it sharply right at Jeff Gardner. There's one away. After walking it twice, Clark is out for the first time, and Matt Williams will be the batter. Matt has struck out and hit into a fielder's choice. Now this is a test inning here for Scott Sanders, getting the lead back. Just his 8th big league start, having to face the middle of the order. If you're just getting in for the night, Philadelphia beat Atlanta 3-0. As Mark Davis loosens up in the San Diego bullpen. So the Giants have a chance to gain a game. Montreal stayed alive by beating the Mets. Phillies knocked the number down by 1 tonight. In the American League, things are just about over. Toronto beat the Yankees tonight. Detroit beat Baltimore. And Chicago, in the bottom of the 9th, got a run to beat Texas. White Sox can wrap up their division as early as Sunday. They win tomorrow and Sunday, they'll clinch. 1-1. That is a foul.
Matt Williams had a pretty good pitch to hit right there. It was a breaking ball that sort of hung out there, and he was just a little bit out in front of it.
Very enthusiastic crowd tonight. Real good fans. We're going to get the Giants going here. Down 3-2 after a sudden San Diego outburst in the top half of this inning. Sanders part trying to discourage Williams just a little bit. Matt usually doesn't take very kindly to this.
No, he doesn't. Matt does not handle these things well at all. His nickname in the clubhouse is the Big Marine, and this just turns it up a notch. Now, he's normally got pretty good bat speed, but he's going to go into hyper speed here on this swing.
2-2. Good. Little slider again. Gutierrez makes the play. 2 down.
That was a pretty good pitch.
But that proved to me, I mean, the fastball is good, but that pitch is the one that seems like is going to be his out pitch, isn't it?
That was a little emergency swing. He does not immediately go after it, and then he just sort of fires in on it, realizing it's going to be a strike late. He's lucky to even have made contact. It's a great pitch by Scott Sanders.
Bonds takes ball 1. Bonds hit his first home run in 22 days in the 4th inning on a 3-1 pitch. Now he gets ahead here, 2-0. 41 homers, leads the league. 109 runs batted in by Bonds. Thinking one thing here. 2-0. He took a swing for it, left center field. It's going to stay in the yard and be caught on the run by Plantier. So Sanders gets the Giants in order in the 6th. Ricky Gutierrez leading off here in the San Diego half of the 7th inning. Dave Burba. What a new headwear. Our versions of cone heads. Now if there's one thing in the world you'd love to change about Dave Burba, it'd be that right there. The ball that should be an out winds up being a base hit as Dave falls off the mound and is helpless on a ball like this.
Follow through takes him all the way around. His back winds up facing the hitter on his follow through, and he's really out of position to become a fielder. He's just a big old target. We saw him in Atlanta this year take a rocket right off his backside. He's still got a little bit of that bruise.
Now Osmus, who had 2 singles off Sanderson tonight. Pitching's tough enough. It just seems you're such an edge if you can help yourself, as we see Swift do repeatedly by being able to field his position so well.
And those are little things that add up over the course of a long season. They can win you a ball game or two, keep you around.
Pickerson getting ready in the bullpen as Osmus fouls it.
The thing about it too is people watch pitchers throw and they have follow-throughs like Dave Burba has, and they say, well, why doesn't he just square up and throw like Swift does? Well, one of the things you can't do, well, it's very difficult to do, is cut that down. Once you have that type of release that Burba has, and you're giving everything you have into that pitch, as you follow through, it's almost impossible to try and eliminate that and square up like Bill Swift does after he pitches. Some guys can do it, some guys can't.
You're saying it's a fundamental that has to be hammered home much earlier than this level, right? Something has to be developed.
Even at that point, I'm not sure. It's just the way the guy gets rid of the ball, and the way that what he does to have to throw the ball to get something on it, just carries him through the normal follow-through position, and it closes his back to home plate. If it was that easy to correct, everybody would be in perfect form after they threw it, but it's not. It's tough. And the bigger you are, like Dave Burba, the more body you have to control. And that's a disadvantage too. You watch Bill Swift throw, and it's really exactly the type of position you want to be in after you throw. You're squared up, and you almost become, well, you're another infielder. He's not as tall as Burba, and he's got a very compact motion. Burba, on the other hand, he's a lot of elbows and knees and legs and high kicks, and he's a lot of body movement coming at you at the plate.
Gutierrez is not a base stealer. He's only a 3 this year. Now he's running, and the throw is not there. A lot of tail on the throw. Gutierrez was able to slide by it, stealing his 4th base of the year.
Well, it was a steal situation in that you would not want to bunt your 8-hitter to get to your 9-hitter, but you would like to get your man in scoring position. So Jim Riggleman takes a chance, sends Gutierrez, who had not had a whole lot of stolen bases. And bingo, they wind up with a guy in scoring position, nobody out.
Here's a look through the center field fence. That is a part of the center field fence that's opened up, a handicap seating, and a great, unique view of a big league game. 2-2. Osmus fouls it.
Dave Burba's pitching for his life right now. He doesn't want to let any more runs get in. The way that Scott Sanders is throwing for the Padres, runs have not been easy to come by.
Burba got that fastball in a good spot. A lot on it. He strikes out Osmus. 2 strikeouts for Burba.
Now this is just some high gas right here. Big Dave gets behind it and pops it up there. It's awful tough to get your hand on top of the ball. It's tough to lay off it too because you see it so well. Overpowered.
One away, Sanders will bat here. Sanders' longest outing was 8 1/3 innings, so he has had the ability to take a game into the ninth in his brief big league time. No sacrificing here, though. They're going to ask him to hit a ball. Gutierrez at second base with 1 out. San Diego leading 3-2 in the 7th inning. And a good pitch by Burbitz, 0-2. Strike 3. Sanders knows better than to say anything because he's got to go back get there and pitch. And he wants that same strike zone.
You're absolutely right. He's been getting that pitch about 6 inches off the plate all night. It would be rather ridiculous for him to argue one that was called on himself. For Scott Sanders, it was good morning, good afternoon, and good night. 3-pitch strikeout. He didn't even come close to having a good swing or any swing.
Over the 3rd consecutive at-bat, Jarvis Brown has a chance to drive a run in. He is 0 for his first 2. It's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Old Jarvis is a little tardy in that swing.
Well, I think that's the best play with Brown is a hitter you probably can overpower, especially Bourbon.
See, Jarvis Brown is using a bat with a Galen stain on it. Guys are double staining their bat now.
A squib ball to Clark, and the flip to Burba ends the inning. So Burba survives a leadoff, actually runner at second with nobody out. Keeps the ball game 3-2 San Diego. Willie McGee leading off the bottom half of the 7th inning. Clayton and Manwaring to follow. San Diego 3, Giants 2. This will be about as good a time as any for the Giants to get some offense going. San Diego's got 2 guys down in that bullpen the Giants won't be eager to see. Trevor Hoffman, and there he is, along with Gene Harris. So we've got some tough guys to close out ball games.
Yeah, Hoffman and Harris both are a couple of flamethrowers. Good live arms.
Just inside, 2-0 to McGee, who has struck out and singled to left. One of only 3 hits for the Giants. Taking all the way, it's a strike. McGee chops it foul. It's 2-2. Padres are a team that the Giants have not had as much ease with them this year as they've had with other clubs that have done better in the standings. McGee just dribbling one to short. Charge, and McGee beat it. Big run by Willie McGee, although he pulls up lame, a little bit lame down the right field line. Actually, McGee looks like he's more shaking that left hand. Clayton has flied to right in his prior 2 at-bats against Sanders. An important run-scoring hit last night in Houston. There goes McGee, and it's foul.
Very similar situation for the Giants in this situation that the Padres had at the top of the inning when they stole Ricky Gutierrez. It's a stealing situation because Clayton no longer can bunt you across. He has 2 strikes on him, but you want to get that runner in scoring position.
Two-two. McGee getting a decent lead, not a very big one. Not the kind of lead that you get, unless your base stealers take.
If he were to go now, it would be a straight steal. You wouldn't put a hit and run on with 2 strikes.
Although they just did.
That was a straight steal.
Straight steal. Okay. Nope, not going here, and it's inside. 3-2.
Or run and hit, if you want to think of it that way. Certainly you don't want to put Clayton in a situation where you have to swing at a ball in dirt, which would be a 3-strike situation.
All right. Do you start McGee here?
Definitely.
There he goes. Strikeout. No throw. Osmus, who has the reputation of being a very good catcher and thrower, unable to get a throw off there. So the play actually, from the Giants' standpoint, is not bad because they originally set Clayton up to do that very thing, give himself up to get McGee ahead, and that's what ends up happening.
Well, that's a good point. They were willing to sacrifice an out to get a runner at second base, and now they've got the same result, just a different route to get there.
McGee's 9th stolen base of the year, and the Giants will have 2 pops to tie the ball game here. Manwaring first, and now Martinez has moved in the on-deck circle. Curtis struck out, singled it to right. And San Diego, Gutierrez just made a great adjustment. Gutierrez, the shortstop, ran over to second base, and he told Gardner, you go back and play second base. Manwaring's going to hit the ball to the right side, and I'll be the guy that shades McGee here. One.
Kurt Manwaring, a type of hitter who hits a lot of balls up the middle. Defenses now are starting to play him to right with their second baseman, jam the middle with their shortstops. We're seeing it all around the league now.
Inside, 2 balls, 1 strike.
The Padres do have Craig Shipley playing in normal third base, actually a step towards the line. There's a huge hole between the third baseman and the shortstop, Gutierrez. Kurt hits a lot of balls over there.
Manwaring won the ball game for the Giants Wednesday night, driving the only run. Takes inside here, 3-1.
Young right-handers making some pretty tough pitches right now.
He doesn't appear to have lost very much stuff-wise.
Throwing hard.
Davey Martinez waiting. No lefty up in the bullpen. It's only Trevor Hoffman for San Diego. Three balls, 1 strike, 1 out. Bounce left side. Shipley with a pick. And the throw, 2 down. Now Manwaring came close to getting that in the hole. Shipley just had enough range to reach it. 2 down, and Dave Martinez will be the pinch hitter. Jimmy Martinez, .232 average as a pinch hitter. Has had 20 at-bats and 3 hits. McGee the tying run at second base with 2 outs. Well, Jim Riggleman is certainly not playing this in the traditional pennant race manner. He's finding out about his young people.
Well, Scott Sanders has still got pretty good stuff. But this is where you let your guys develop, is late in the game.
I think a lot of managers, though, I think would play this like it's their pennant race too.
We've seen 2 young staffs this year, St. Louis Cardinals, and now we watch this young staff here in San Diego, and their managers are playing them pretty much the same way. They're letting them pitch late in the game. Saw Joe Torre do it. Yep. St. Louis, and now Riggleman here.
2-1 to Martinez. And of course, that's why Riggleman is the manager here, because he had great success managing so many of these same people in the San Diego farm system.
One thing you want to develop in your starters as they come up, you don't want them to start rubbernecking and looking down into the bullpen. You want them to think close.
Three and 1 now to Martinez with Darren Lewis on deck. Gutierrez again keeping McGee close. Martinez takes ball 4. So he draws a walk. Darren Lewis, the batter, Jim Riggleman on his way to the mound, and that might be, and it is, it for Sanders. The sign goes for Trevor Hoffman. So the Padres making a change here in the bottom half of the 7th inning.
Trevor Hoffman now comes into the game. He'll be making his 64th appearance, his 36th as a Padre, as they acquired him from the Florida Marlins halfway through the season. He was involved in the trade that sent Gary Sheffield over to Florida. It was very hard. He's got good live fastball, a little bit of a changeup, and a good split finger fastball.
You know, this guy, Krukow's had a tough go because he took a lot of heat in San Diego when the trade was made. He was the key man, and the fans, of course, were so unhappy Sheffield was traded that they kind of vented their steam on Hoffman. And he had some rough outings in San Diego, but we saw early in the year what a find this guy was.
Giants were impressed with him the first time they went into Florida, and he came out to set up for Brian Harvey, and they said, who is this guy? They thought his stuff was unhittable.
Well, he did it here. Actually, that first home series of the year, he pitched a couple ball games here at Candlestick. That was impressive. Todd Benzinger batting for Darren Lewis. So Dusty Baker going for the offense, which he needs to do. He needs to get runs. And Benzinger will get the crack at Hoffman. 2 outs, McGee at second, Martinez at first. And it's a little more country hardball. Benzinger's had 1 at-bat against Hoffman this year, and it was a strikeout.
think Trevor Hoffman's got the look you want your relief pitchers to have. It's a little goofy out there.
Center field, Brown racing, gets there. Good speed, pays off in center field. That is Brown's strength, that he runs down that ball from Benzinger. And San Diego stays in front. The Giants' return home tonight has seen this game go in much the same manner as the end of the last homestand. Runs have been very tough to come by for the Giants. They face some good pitching. And they find themselves entering the late innings needing something. Dave Martinez stays in to play center field. He'll bat ninth. Brian Hickerson takes over on the mound. And he'll go into the leadoff spot. Hickerson has pitched well in relief for the Giants his last couple of outings, and it is likely that he's going to be back and get a start before this homestand is over. Hickerson pitched 2 innings on Monday night in Houston. That was his last outing. And he'll face a pinch hitter to start the inning as Derek Bell will bat for Jeff Gardner. Bell was in the lineup, the original starting lineup tonight in right field. He was scratched about an hour before game time and now comes in as a pinch hitter. Has hit 21 home runs. And one hop right to Matt Williams. Ball is out, 1 away. Mike Jackson loosening up. Billy Beane will be the San Diego batter. Solomon Torres will pitch tomorrow afternoon. Andy Ashby, a right-hander, will go for the Padres. 1 o'clock game, 12:30 on deck right here on SportsChannel.
Looked like a frisbee he just threw up there.
A little late in the year. Manwaring didn't want to be jumping out and reaching for that with nobody on base. It's got to be tough to move in those catcher's gear when you're taking the pounding a guy like Manwaring has all year. You must be amazed at the guys. And there aren't that many left, but the guys that catch 140, 145 games. That is remarkable.
I'm pretty amazed that guy gets back there for one. Those guys take a beating every day. Foul balls hit their shoulders, hit their forearms, hit their hands, off their toes. Not to mention the stone bruise you pick up on your catching hand if you catch a 90-mile-an-hour sinker wrong. Catching Bill Swift and John Burkett, that cannot be fun. They throw an extremely heavy ball because of the action they have on their ball.
3-2 down to Billy Beane. He's 0 for 3 tonight.
Just the way Kurt Manwaring received that last ball right there. If you catch that thing wrong, you can just wring your hand up.
Sharply hit. Thompson does a nice job of adjusting for that ball and gets Beane 2 down. Giants bullpen doing its job after Sinfrocco's homer in the 6th. Obviously another routine play, huh?
Yeah, automatic. That was a weird hop. Royce Clayton was laughing at him. He yelled out, "How come you always get the easy hops?"
Now Plantier, who is 1 for 3, batting with 2 outs and nobody on in the 6th inning. He hit a double. Sinfrocco fouled with a homer.
There we go. Get up! Everybody,
Mike, your tickets were picked up tonight.
Yeah, it's my pass list. Batman head.
ball, 2 strikes. Plantier hit a double that time didn't look like it would be too damaging to the Giants, but it sure was when Sinfrocco came up with the very next pitch out of the yard. And that is San Diego in front 3-2. Good pitch. Chickerson ties up Plantier and strikes him out to end the inning. So the bullpen puts another 0 up and gives the big bats a chance in the bottom of the 8th. Game summary brought to you by Pacific Bell. Barry Bonds hit a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 4th inning, his first in 22 days, and that gave the Giants a lead tonight. The lead was erased when Arky Sinfrocco went out in the 6th inning, and that's where we stay. 3-2. Giants with just 4 hits and now facing an awfully tough young reliever in Trevor Hoffman. The only Giants man that has had some luck hitting Hoffman this year is Robbie Thompson. He's hit twice against Hoffman and hit safely each time. For 3 tonight. Robbie fouls it off. Luis Lopez has taken over at second base. Jeff Gardner lifted in for a cameo appearance by Derek Bell. It's nasty. And it's even worse when it's a strike. And you try to hit that pitch and then it's a strike.
Knee high on the black. A little bit below knee.
0-2. Oh, wow.
Boy, you hold your breath now.
That absolutely sickening sound. And about the only good thing is that Thompson is obviously conscious. Although he's clearly injured, some sort of a cut. But thank goodness, the first thing you look for when he went down was he was moving.
That ball was up around his eye. You heard it hit helmet. Now Robbie wears contact lenses. Whether or not the impact of the ball hit skin, hit helmet, we don't know.
Well, it is a tough enough job to hit major league pitching, and a 95 to 98 mile-an-hour fastball bearing it on your head is not pretty.
His nose is bleeding.
And Robbie Thompson clearly finished an absolutely sickening moment. And it has been about the only blemish on this otherwise storybook season. The number of injuries the Giants have suffered. The number of seemingly unavoidable ones like that one. Mike Benjamin coming in to run for Thompson. And I guess the only solace you can take right now when you see that happen is it could have been so much worse.
Boy, this is what you dread as a hitter. It's a glancing blow. It looked like it caught a little bit of the helmet and hit him off his cheek, tear him into his nose.
Well, it certainly has an impact on the Giants. Let's see if it has an impact on Trevor Hoffman. facing Will Clark. Benjamin, the pinch runner at first. And a base hit right field. And Benjamin will go to third. Very big hit by Will Clark. Tying run at third, nobody out.
Robbie Thompson has found many ways to inspire his teammates this year. I think he just found another one.
It found him, unfortunately. Matt Williams will be the batter. The Giants have the tying run at third, the lead run at first with no one out.
First pitch hit, and he gets a fastball middle of the plate. He gets it in the hole between first and second. And just like that, the Giants have action with their fourth and fifth hitters coming up.
And listen to this crowd. As good a crowd as the Giants have had here all year. Not in numbers, but in intensity and enthusiasm. And Williams' job here is just really to put a ball somewhere in play. Hoffman is thinking strikeout. The Padres are playing for a double play. They'll give up the tying run to try for it. 1-1. If Hoffman can get Williams, Mark Davis is ready in the bullpen for Bonds.
It's still situation hitting. Matt Williams is up there thinking fly ball. On the mound, Hoffman's thinking strikeout.
Williams gets it out in left field. Benjamin will tag, and he will score without a play. Well, Matt Williams delivers, and we are tied in the bottom of the eighth.
Pretty bad for Matt Williams. Great discipline in that situation. He stayed within the framework of that at bat. His job was to get the fly ball. Did an excellent job of doing just that.
Matt Williams' 107th run batted in. His 9th sacrifice fly of the year. And now Mark Davis gets the call to face Barry Bonds. 1 out, bottom of the 8th, and a 3-3 game.
Gets a nasty slider on the outside part of the plate, knee high, and he goes to left field with enough on it to get Mike Benjamin in from third base. It's not easy to do, and you can watch the reaction of the fans and his teammates. They appreciate a good job done.
So now the Giants look out and see an old teammate. A guy like Williams. A few others see Mark Davis out there. In his second turn with the Padres, and his first one was the best time of his career, winning the Cy Young Award in 1989. This year, Davis started with Atlanta, didn't pitch in any games for the Braves, was traded to the Phillies, pitched in 25 games for Philadelphia. And now his 30th game with San Diego. And with the Padres, he's had 4 saves and a 2.8 earned run average. He's been a better pitcher with San Diego than he has been really anywhere in the last 3 years.
One of the things that Mark Davis tried to always do the year he saved 44 games was start the hitter off with a breaking ball. He had great command of that pitch. That still is his best pitch.
Mark Davis has faced Barry Bonds 3 times this year. Bonds has 2 hits, and the 1 out was a screaming line drive to first base in a game at Jack Murphy in August. It's a lefty-lefty matchup, but not necessarily, based on what we've seen this year, a matchup Bonds would be feeling at all like he's at a disadvantage. 2-0.
Good breaking ball there, just missed. But it's also a pitch that Bonds got to look at.
Two balls, no strikes. Clark the runner. Now it's 3-0. McGee is on deck. Right-hander Frank Seminara getting ready for the San Diego Padres. 3-3 game in the 8th inning. And Bonds swinging again. Took a swing at a ball that he otherwise might have let go. Trying to be a hitter, and this time it backfires. A double play that ends the inning, but the Giants get the tying run home.
Here we are back in the top of the 9th. The score is tied 3-3. Mike Jackson will come aboard for the Giants. Jackson will be making his 75th appearance on the year. And he will face the culprit of the evening, Arky Sinfraco, who momentarily gave the Padres a lead with a 2-run blast back in the 6th inning.
Mike Benjamin taking over at second base for Thompson. And right now the key for the Giants is for Jackson to get through this inning. Sinfraco, Shipley, and Gutierrez, the batters. Now Mark Davis got off the hook big time. 3-0 pitch to Bonds that was probably ball 4, but Bonds trying aggressively to hit and not walk, and he took a rip at one and hit into a double play. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Good pitch. Strike 2 to Sinfraco.
Good hard slider.
And strike 3. Well, Jackson starts with a strikeout and 2 very good sliders.
This one just freezes Sinfraco. It starts off the inside part of the plate and breaks back in across the plate. Sinfraco gave up on it.
Now Craig Shipley batting for the first time tonight. And, the Aussie native swings and misses. Shipley 241 with 3 homers, had a home run that hurt the Giants in San Diego last month. Jackson right in there again.
Well, that's a nasty breaking ball. They're not getting off on that pitch at all. They're just getting frozen. Good hard quick bite to it.
'75 games for Jackson Krug. That's amazing. Get up right now. It probably can reach back with a little extra adrenaline. Not much to hold back right now.
No, this is outhouse or castle time. I don't know where it was. But Mark Hirschbeck got to punch a hole in his mask here. Whew. That's right down Broadway, folks.
Wow.
Oh, well, he just evened it up.
That's embarrassing. I mean, I got to tell you, that's embarrassing to see that. And I don't blame Jim Riggleman one bit because that is absolutely embarrassing.
That was right down the middle. What are you talking about?
This gives the profession a bad name, folks. I mean,
Right down the middle. What are you talking about?
oh boy. 2 down, and Gutierrez takes a strike.
All I can say is they must sound like strikes because he's not seeing them.
Where'd that miss? Mark Hirschbeck's throwing somebody out in the San Diego dugout. You too, he says. Yeah, you and you and you. Well, for those who may not be aware, Mark Hirschbeck umpired behind home plate here in April in the memorable night game against Atlanta. That ended with the entire Braves bench and dugout in a complete upheaval about his strike zone. And not that far away from it tonight either.
Riggleman's pretty subdued through all this.
The problem is, you see, what Hirschbeck did in Shipley's at-bat group is what in the NBA you get used to. It's called the makeup call. He blew the pitch before, so he just made it up on the next one. And baseball people aren't used to that. They got Tim Tuffle. Oh, I'm sorry, that is Shipley. And is that Mike Rourke going with him, I believe?
No, that's not Mike.
No, sorry. We'll guess. Or it's Merv Retton. Shipley and Merv Retton both are getting the from here.
Now here's the pitch.
That's an 0-2 pitch
that he missed. And now here's the pitch that he missed. See you later.
I mean, it really was a makeup call. I mean, that's what the NBA refs do that all the time. It's part of the game. I wonder if Shipley said something to him in Australia.
I'm sure he didn't say good day, mate.
2-1. And you know, but the problem is I don't think anybody in baseball expects the umpires to be perfect, but that does that's not what you expect from big league. 2-2.
Big Jack just rearing back on that one.
Full count coming up. And Gutierrez might have offered it ball 4 there.
I don't think anybody that takes a pitch with 2 strikes is thinking clearly with Hirschbeck back there.
Might have.
You got to be up there hacking.
Jackson trying to get the Giants to the plate here in the bottom of the 9th. 3-2 with 2 outs. And it's Benjamin on the play to retire the side. Now Jackson gets the Padres in order, and the Giants now will try to win it.
Well, here we go, the bottom of the 9th inning. Score tied 3-3. Mark Davis will face Willie McGee, Royce Clayton, and Kurt Manwaring. McGee tonight 2 for 3 with a couple of singles. Tim Tuffle now moves to third in replace of Craig Shipley, who has been run from this game along with Merv Retman.
Mark Davis will face Willie McGee. Royce Clayton, Kurt Manwaring. Willie is 2 for 3 tonight. Right-handed average is .333 on the season.
Well, that pitch right there lets Willie know, man, you got to be swinging.
Willie McGee's hit 2 lifetime home runs off Mark Davis. And Davis pulled the string there. Usually the kind of pitch that McGee waits so well on. 1-2.
It's Mark's best pitch. You want to avoid a 2-strike count because that's usually what you're going to see. Hit that ball up a little high.
Gene Harris getting ready. He is the San Diego closer. Boy, there's some life on that pitch, and McGee is out swinging.
He gets so conscious of that breaking ball when he comes back in with a fastball. It just makes it look that much more faster. And he threw a good one there. That was a nice pitch.
1 down, and Royce Clayton will be the batter. Clayton has flied to right twice and struck out.
Now you've worked the count in your favor. You look fastball and you look for it middle of the plate in, about thigh high. And if you get one there, you go after it with all you got. That's all right. It's a pitch in the zone he wasn't looking for.
2-1. Got that in. 2-2 to Clayton. Almost 33 years old, Mark Davis trying to keep his career going, and he's done some of that with San Diego this year. Oh, high.
Pretty impressive follow through by Mark Davis, and he's got to laugh about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's kind of thing you first see, and you wonder if he got hurt.
You throw a grenade and you dive in the foxhole. And this
is one way to field your position, isn't it? He's going to smother any ground ball.
It's got a good chance of making the highlights this week.
Now regrouping for a 3-2 pitch to Clayton. And the breaking ball just misses. Winning run on the walk. Manwaring coming up, and I think all eyes now wait to see if Jim Riggleman will go to his closer. Rob Piccolo, former A's infielder, with the jacket on the front of Riggleman. And Harris, they're saying, now, as you have me warming up, why don't you bring me in the game? Manwaring shows bunt, 1-0. What do you think about the bunt here?
Well, Tuffle still isn't buying the fact that he thinks third baseman Tim Tuffle doesn't believe the Giants will bunt. I think they might have done that just to bring him in. Manwaring can show bunt.
And showed it again there on a throw to first, which is not, I'm not sure if that's what you want.
A bit unusual with one out.
Dave Martinez is the on deck here. Tuffle still playing back. Again, Manwaring, that time he didn't square, but he did shorten on the bat as Davis threw to first.
There's a couple of options that Dusty Baker can go to. He can move the runner in a hit and run situation.
I wonder if this is just show bunt until he throws a strike.
No, early in the count like that, especially, well, now you have a 2-0 count right now. If he's going to show bunt, he's going to bunt. He's not going to have him abuse a 2-0 count because he has worked the count in his favor.
Well, not now, right?
Count. Well, 1-0 basically was the same thing.
Okay. Tuffle back, 2-0. There goes Clayton. Ball's fouled away.
Now that was a normal situation call with one out. Move your runner, trying to upset your middle infielders, create a hole for Manwaring, who is a good contact hitter and puts the ball in play in the middle part of the field, and find a hole and get a first and third situation. That would be gravy.
Winning run at first, 1 out.
See, one thing about Jarvis Brown, the center fielder for the Padres, he's playing extremely deep.
Has been all night. But he's a guy with tremendous speed. Well, I gotta admit, that's a surprise. 2-2.
Well, now with 2 strikes, he'll be swinging the bat. If he goes to a sacrifice now, that would be flabbergasted.
Struck him out. Now that was unusual, an unusual at bat, and it ends up poorly for the Giants. Now 2 down. Martinez coming up to bat against Mark Davis.
Now you take a shot at stealing a base.
That the bunt was really surprising. Dusty Baker could hit for Martinez, but if he does so and the game goes to extra innings, he would be down to playing rookie Rickard Finite center field. Darren Lewis already out of the ballgame.
They had to throw to first a couple times. They've got to keep close attention to Royce Clayton at first base because he can steal you a base. If he goes and steals a base, he's in a run scoring position. If he is thrown out, you have Martinez, who would then lead off a 10th.
A throw on the money there by Davis. If Martinez keeps the inning alive, the Giants will hit for Jackson. So Beck prepares if there's a 10th inning. Mark Carrion is in the on deck circle.
Good curveball there. I can't believe, looking at Mark Davis's stuff tonight, that he would not be a commodity for somebody. This is the best he's looked to me in a long time. Throwing the ball well.
Osmus takes it. Ball 2 and strike 1. An agonizing night. The Giants trying to pull it out. 3-3, bottom of the ninth. Hit right at the bag. Right to Sinfrocco. And we're going to extra innings at Candlestick, tied at 3. Right now, more important matters, and that is the 10th inning here. Mike Jackson facing Osmus, who was 2 for 3 tonight. Mark Davis has already gone to the clubhouse. They'll hit for him next with Kevin Higgins in the on-deck circle. There's Higgins, a left-handed batter. The Giants have Kevin Rogers getting ready in the bullpen. Williams playing right on the third base line. He's going to get over there. Yeah, he's getting over there pretty close when the pitch is thrown. 2 balls and a strike. Up the middle, and Osmus with a base hit to start the 10th. Now Kevin Higgins, a left-handed batter, will come up to face Jackson. Jackson had an overpowering 9th inning. He has run into some difficulties in the second innings of outings since he's come back from his injury.
Well, the one game against the Pirates, he had excellent stuff. It wasn't anything that had to do with fatigue. He's actually had great stuff again tonight. This is a bunt situation here for the Padres. Matt Williams will start to sneak in. The Giants have put a play on now. They're going to try and crash in and get the lead out at second base. Mike Jackson will do a job of keeping the runner stopped and as close to first as he can, and give his cornerman, his first baseman and his third baseman, a chance to get in there and field the ball and get that out at second.
Higgins, 222 average. It's down the bunt. Jackson goes to second, and it's not in time. Everybody's safe. They took a shot at second, but Osmus beat the throw. And the Padres have 2 on with nobody out. Now Dusty Baker coming out and is going to make a double switch.
Watch Osmus, the runner at first base. That's what Mike Jackson's taking a chance on, and he's clearly safe.
It's a sacrifice and a fielder's choice. Rod Beck coming in to pitch. Rickert Fanita going into center field in the double switch. We'll come back in a moment. Rod Beck on to pitch for the Giants. We've had just a little more word, nothing in great detail yet, but Robbie Thompson has been taken to the Stanford University Hospital emergency room with what the Giants feel is a possible fracture of the left cheekbone. Ball, as Kruk mentioned, that must have glanced off the ear flap of his batting helmet and caught his cheekbone. So that is the update, the last we have on Robbie Thompson. Right now, Rod Beck on in a very, very crucial situation in the Giants season. Tie game, top of the 10th, and the Padres have runners at first and second with nobody out. Jarvis Brown in an obvious bunt situation. Luis Lopez and Billy Beane. A couple more left-handed batters are behind Brown. Osmus is the runner at second. Higgins the runner at first. And you can see where Clark is already in. Higgins getting a huge lead off first. And Brown offers and misses. But the Giants are going at third base here.
They'll change that play a lot. And off of that swinging gate where the shortstop fakes in towards second, then comes over to third and covers the bag, leaving your third baseman and first baseman to crash in and try and field the ball. You can work a pickoff play with keeping your second baseman back. The Giants are trying to get that lead out, lead runner.
In the air, and Beck can't play it. They'll still get the out at third, and the out at second, a double play.
Well, you couldn't have choreographed it any better. And whether or not that was intentional by Rod Beck, I don't know. But the end result was wonderful.
Intentional. Couldn't have scripted this any better, though.
Ball up here. Rod Beck.
It was the kick that gives it away.
And Will Clark does a chicken flip throw over to third base, and Royce Clayton steps in the bag, gets the force, and then applies the tag just to be doubly sure. Big break.
Huge break. Luis Lopez bats with 2 outs and a runner at first. Well, this was a nightmare turned into a miracle in one play.
The lead dog, you get the you only have to do one thing here. You tag the base or tag the guy.
Ball 1 now to Lopez, who is a 23-year-old Puerto Rican switch hitting infielder. He's had 32 major league at-bats and 3 hits. Hopped him up. Might be playable, should be. And the Giants somehow get out of it. That was something. And Beck doing a masterful job of fielding gets the Giants to the bottom of the 10th. Giants are on the precipice in the top half of the inning, and they got off. And they have life facing the Padres closer, Gene Harris, in the bottom of the 10th. All because of this play.
Will Clark makes a great